Minister, I welcome the fact that you're going to carry out a review, but what is a review? I mean, if it's going to be something that your department are going to look at internally, well, I regret that I can't have much confidence in that, because we know what your department thinks is necessary, because you've put the motion before us, as you put the motion last year, the year before, the year before, the year before that. So, what will the review consist of, and who will carry it out? Because we've had reviews before. We had a Headerman committee established in 1999 that spent 3 years, and there were a huge, wide variety of stakeholders invited to participate in that, and they reported in 2002. Deputy O'Callaghan earlier said that they recommended that the courts continue as is. Now, that's not correct in my view, because in 2002 the committee recommended to the government that there should not be a category of offences that are automatically heard before the Special Criminal Court. This exceptional measure should be applied on a case-by-case basis. And the UN Human Rights Committee has criticised Ireland for exactly the same thing. Deputy O'Callaghan alluded to the Headerman Committee. There was also, I suppose, the fact that Mr Justice Headerman himself, and he was a retired Supreme Court judge and a former Attorney General in Jack Lynch's government, not some sort of subversive renegade. He himself, along with Professor Dermot Walsh and Professor William Binchy, recommended that it be abolished entirely. But they didn't recommend that it be maintained as is. Ireland has been repeatedly criticised by domestic actors, the Irish Council for Civil Liberties, the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, its predecessor, led by your former colleague Maurice Manning, also criticised it. How much criticism do we need before we look seriously at this? And a desktop review in your department, Minister, is not something that I would have confidence in to deliver anything. I do welcome the fact that you've moved a small bit on this, but we do need more. I just want to highlight a couple of issues, and that's a Kavanagh case was taken. Ireland has signed up to the optional protocol in the ICCPR, which enables somebody who thinks that their human rights have been violated or to make a complaint to the committee, and that the committee determine it. And he was successful because, again, the committee found that there was they could see no lawful basis for the lawful, in accordance with Ireland's international legal commitments, basis for the fact that his case was heard. He was charged with scheduled offences, he was charged with non-scheduled offences, but they could see no basis that his case was heard by a non-jury trial. He went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court determined that, well, of course, Ireland's international commitments are not binding on us domestically, they're binding on us internationally. But this year, Minister, in the teeth of a huge pandemic, when this country was stretched economically, fiscally, and in terms of human resources, a huge amount of energy was put into getting on the Security Council. I congratulate your government for the fact, or the government in which you're a member, for the fact that you successfully got a seat in the Security Council. But if the UN doesn't matter, why did we bother? And if the UN does matter, are we going to listen to the UN? Are we going to listen to the Human Rights Committee? Are we going to listen to the special rapporteurs? Because it's every periodic report. It's not just a footnote in one. It's every single periodic report we're criticised for this. The Headerman Committee criticised it. The Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission criticised it. The ICCL criticised it. Everybody bar your department criticised it. So who is going to review this? Now, what I'm proposing is not, I don't think, revolutionary. We continue as is for 7 months, but after 6 months we asked that as you know, under the 75 Act that established the Law Reform Commission, the Attorney General can request a report be put, that a special report be done. And I don't think it's much to ask that the Law Reform Commission at this stage look at the issue. And again, the Law Reform Commission, can you find a more impartial, neutral, learned body than the Law Reform Commission to do this? Because if you're going to suggest that it be another High Court, retired High Court or Supreme Court judge, that's great, but we've already had that. And they've already made their recommendations and they've already been ignored. So, Minister, I'd ask you to announce something meaningful, not just that we'll review it or somebody somewhere will, or they'll take a look at it. Because that's not good enough anymore, especially now that we're on the Human Rights, we're on the Security Council, especially now that, and I would very much agree, Deputy Pa Daly discussed this, and I won't go over time, but I think it's...
You have already.
I have already. I think he probably has more experience in the criminal courts than everybody else in this chamber put together. And he did make the point that they don't necessarily... A lot of the gangland trials were done in normal courts, and a lot of what affects trials is not neutered by having it in the special criminal court, because you still have witnesses being... there's no more witness protection in the special criminal court than there is in the circuit court, the circuit criminal court in Limerick, unfortunately. That's a reality of life. And if we're serious about protecting witnesses, if we're serious about protecting juries, there are matters that can be taken. But I'm not going to propose them now. I would ask that the Law Reform Commission look into this.
All right.